Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 817A, and today's date is November 13th, 2015, and the title of this episode is, It's Official, This Holiday Season Will Be the Worst Since the Great Depression. Now, before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. The interview with Jeff Nielsen has been uploaded to the X22 Report YouTube channel. You can go right over to that channel and view it, or you can come over to the X22Report.com site, scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, you'll see the video there, or you can go to the newssentinel.com site. That's NEWZSENTINEL.com. You can go right to that site and view it there. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, let's head out to Greece because we know they got this incredible bailout from the bankers, and they're trying to convince everyone that Greece is doing fine. Everything is okay. Now, they told us this back in 2009, 2011, 2012, 2014, but each year it seems that they needed more and more of the bailout until we got to the point where they needed even more of the bailout. And right now, the Greek economy has shrunk in the third quarter of 2015, according to the Hellenic Statistical Authority. Greece's GDP fell during the third quarter of 2015 by 0.4% in comparison to the third quarter of 2014. But what we are seeing is that this entire Greek economy is not doing what the bankers are trying to convince us that it's doing, and that is recovering because of the bailouts. Actually, it is getting worse. And as time goes on, and as Greece sells off all its assets to the bankers, to the creditors, guess what's going to happen to the country? It's going to implode. The Eurozone at this point, as the corporate media likes to call it, they're losing steam. Germany, Finland, Greece, Netherlands, Italy, Portugal, basically below expectations. The Eurozone economy lost steam. The last quarter of Portugal stalled, Germany slowed, debt-stricken Greece contracted. Gross domestic product across the 19 countries, they're at 0.3% in the third quarter. This is according to the Eurostat figures. This is not a recovery. Their unemployment rate is at 12%. Each country has their own individual unemployment rate, and that ranges anywhere from 12 all the way up to 30%. Youth unemployment ranges from 12% all the way up to 50%. And remember, the youth, that's the next generation. If they're unemployed, not making money, you can kiss retail goodbye, housing goodbye, auto goodbye, everything. Completely done. Now, here in the States, in the United States, they are pushing the idea that because we're at 5% unemployment, we are completely at full employment and the economy is perfectly fine. This is what they want you to believe at this time. But something odd is happening in the U.S. labor market. The BLS reports in its latest JOLTS report, the number of hires has exceeded the number of job openings for most of the JOLTS history. So the hires exceeded the amount of jobs that were open. Over the past year, this relationship has changed as job openings have outnumbered hires for several months. They've crossed. This is very odd. So what is really happening is that the hires have plateaued. The last time we've seen such a dramatic peak was back in 2005 and 2006, just before the economy and the market crashed in 2008. Now, the JOLT economists and the BLS are very confused. They're saying, we can't put our finger on this, why this is happening. And I mentioned this before in other reports. When I worked for major corporations in Manhattan, many times what they did was they would have job wrecks, and they would keep them open, because in that department, if they decided they didn't need that job, they'd lose the job rec and they wouldn't be able to get one back because it's very difficult to fight for another one. So they would leave them open and say, yes, we do have jobs, but never hire anyone because there really wasn't a position. And this is part of the problem here. A lot of corporations are doing this type of practice of keeping the job recs open. And this is why people are saying there's plenty of jobs out there. No, they're not. It's an illusion. And we have to remember, there's 94 plus million people out on the labor force who can't find work. So yeah, there's something wrong here. And I'm getting emails on top of emails of people saying, yes, I was laid off. I've been putting my resume out. And it's like nothing is out there. No one's even responding. And a lot of people are getting nervous about this. And we can see from Challenger Gray and Christmas that layoffs are accelerating. If we go back to June of 2014 to the present, we are approaching 1 million layoffs. And layoffs are continuing. And they're going to continue because guess what? This holiday season coming up is going to be one of the biggest disasters we've seen since the Great Depression. I know we're at 5% unemployment, near full employment. Well, that should then, we should be able to take those numbers and then turn that into, a lot more people have money, a lot more people have the ability to spend. That means retail should expand. They should hire more people in retail. And Christmas should be incredible. And we should see Black Friday, Cyber Monday, incredible amount of sales during this time. But already we're seeing that this is not the case. Right now, retail sales are stagnant ahead of the holidays, which we knew they were going to be. Because if you believe the government statistical manipulated numbers, it would make sense that this holiday season and leading up to the holiday should be incredible because the unemployment continually decreases since 2008. And as the unemployment rate decreases, that means more people are working, more people have money, more people are saving, and more people can spend. But why is the opposite happening? Macy's, Nordstrom, JCPenney, and there's a slew of other stores that are coming up and saying, you know something? Sales are way down. Sales are falling in our store. We can't explain it. The weather's nice. Maybe that's why. Maybe we'll blame it on the snow once we get into the winter. But right now, nobody wants to say it's the economy. Nobody wants to say it's because people cannot find jobs. Nobody wants to say that the unemployment rate is fake. So they're trying to look at all different things. I mean, right now, October sales, we've seen a decline in motor sales, parts, electronics, food, beverage, gasoline, general merchandise. Do we think this is going to get any better as we go into the holiday season? No, it isn't. I mean, 2014 was a complete disaster. And at that point, where were we? Almost 6% unemployment compared to 2012, 2011, 2010. So how is this going to be any better this year? It isn't, because the government is lying to us. Now, the year-over-year gains in retail is, again, negative. If we look at the retail graph, we see that we're in a downward trend since 2008, when they pumped it up in 2009, 10, and as the economy went along and people lost their jobs because of layoffs, sales declining, stores closing, we see the retail sales continually decline since 2010. And 2010, the unemployment rate was much higher. This is when they really pushed the manipulation to convince everyone that we're okay. And when we look at this data and we look at this information, we can see that, yeah, this whole thing is not what they're saying. Now, the picture is very clear when you're excluding the debt bubble funded auto spending spree. When you exclude autos, what we find is that the last 2 times retail sales were this week, the U.S. was already in recession. The BLS also reported that October PPI is also a disaster at negative 1.6%, down from negative 1.1%. They expected a negative 1.2%, but it is much, much worse than they expected. I mean, Nordstroms came out, Macy's coming out, JCPenney, Banana Republic. All these stores are coming out saying our sales are plummeting. And during this period, sales should be doing a lot better. I mean, this is coming into the holiday season. Just came off of Halloween, going into Thanksgiving. And we are not seeing it at this point. Now, as people continually lose their jobs, they're not going to go out and purchase the goods. And if they're not purchasing the goods, retail sales are going to decline. If retail sales are declining, stores are going to close. Everything's going to contract. Manufacturers won't have to produce because there's no demand for it. If manufacturers aren't producing, they don't need the raw material to create the products. And actually, if you look at all this, it's all declining. The Baltic Dry Index now, the raw material, is down to 560, down another 19 points. The government is lying, and everyone should be shaking in their boots right now of where we are headed. And right now, the government realizes, and the central bank realizes, that nations around the world are getting rid of their treasury bonds, getting rid of their reserves, dumping the dollar. And the question is, who's going to pick up the slack of these treasury bonds? Well, we have to remember what they were planning on maybe a year or two ago, and that was the MyRA, something that Obama is pushing out there. And if we look at the pension situation around America, it is a disaster. The Treasury Secretary and the Labor Secretary both signed an annual report stating the Social Security is close to trust fund depletion. In fact, one of the Social Security's major trust funds is literally days away from running out of money. Federal retirement trust funds across the board, like the Railroad Retirement Fund, are empty. They're exhausted. Private companies have followed the government's example, with many private pension funds approaching insolvency. The federal government has an agency very similar to the FDIC called the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation. And they're there to bail out insolvent private pensions. But this is a problem. The PBGC, well, they're insolvent and they need a bailout. Almost like the FDIC will, they'll need a bailout once the bail-ins start. Once people, when banks start to fail, the FDIC will not be able to cover any of this. And this is a huge, huge problem. The PBGC, they need about $62 billion. Now, President Obama is pushing the MyRA. It's a special form of an IRA, which helps Americans save for retirement. And remember what I say, anytime a government official, a central banker comes out and says something, it's always the opposite. So this is like a retirement account, which that's what it is. And basically what they want you to do, they want you to put your hard-earned currency into this, and they will give you U.S. government bonds. Sounds good, doesn't it? But the problem is, U.S. government bonds fail to pay interest rates that meet the government's officially published rate of inflation. So with these MyRA accounts, when adjusted for inflation, you are guaranteed to lose money. But don't worry. Obama has an explanation for this. Of course, entirely dismisses any of the interest problems or anything like that, and he says these MyRA accounts are for people who aren't saving and who have a fear of losing their principal. What? If it's supposed to be a retirement account, people want to make interest on the money so their retirement grows. And when he says that people are scared of losing their principal, well, guess what? You put your hard-earned currency in that pension plan, that money will be gone in a snap of a finger. Because whatever the government is telling you, whatever the central bank is telling you, it's always the opposite. If they're telling you that's going to be safe, you're going to lose it. The Affordable Care Act that says that health insurance is going to be affordable is turning out to be very, very expensive. Premiums are shooting up anywhere from 20 to 30%. There's no affordability in that. The USA Freedom Act is having the corporations spy on the people. I mean, think about this. It's a complete lie. Now, everyone talks about gold, and people say, gold is not money. Gold, you don't need gold, especially the U.S. central bank. They hate gold because they can't control it. They can't print with gold because there's only a certain ounces of gold in the world. So it keeps the central bankers in check. But Russia, right now, this is what they have to say about gold. It's an additional financial cushion for protection against external uncertainties. Russia says they're intending to build their gold reserves to 500 billion in the coming years. Gold is 100% guarantee from legal and political risks. So Russia sees gold reserves as a form of monetary hedging and financial insurance. And they say, we believe it is necessary in terms of creating additional financial cushion for the state in the face of such external uncertainties. Yes, that's what it is. Because the central bankers are destroying the system. The fiat paper currency will implode. And if you have gold and silver, that is your insurance policy. This is why China, this is why Russia, this is why India and many other nations are continually purchasing gold. This is why the central bankers don't want you to have it. This is part of their plan. So everyone needs to prepare for what is coming. The writing is on the wall. Make sure you have some gold and silver. Make sure you have some cash on hand too, because we don't know what situation is going to arise and we don't know what we'll need. Make sure you have food, water, supplies. If you're just getting started, you can go to lifereliance.com. They have bug out bags, seeds, water filtration systems. You can customize your order. But whatever you're doing, do not stop. Make sure you have extra medicine for that person that has diabetes or a heart problem. Make sure you have toiletries, a weapon to protect your family. These are the things that you will need, because when this system collapses, people are going to be running everywhere to find supplies. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.